Welcome, world, to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. I am Reverend Sandy Rodgers, and as the creator of this historic event, it is my pleasure to welcome you. We come together to bring you this historic event. We have practitioners, holistic practitioners, we have medical doctors, we have spiritual individuals. This event is so lovingly dedicated to my mother, Mrs. Barbara Dean Brown. And my mother taught me like 40 plus years ago about the importance and the meaning behind herbs. And she would always say, we don't know what they putting in those pills, so you better not, get hooked on prescription drugs. And so we listened to Mom, but not all of us paid attention. My sister, bless her heart, was diagnosed recently thereafter with asthma, and she was prescribed prednisone, which is a very powerful steroid. And my sister actually got hooked on steroids, like someone out on the street kind of hooked, like on heroin or crack or something like that. And so my mom and my sister are both on the other side, living in the other dimension, but they're upholding me, and this is dedicated to their memory. So we don't want to come and make you change your mind about what you're doing. We just want to provide information to you, something different, so that you have options to choose from, so that you're not stuck. Because the environment that we now live in, the fast foods, the toxins in the air that we breathe and in the water that we drink, and the processed foods, and all of that is causing havoc on this precious body temple. So God created our bodies to heal themselves, but they can only heal themselves when they're fed and they're nourished and they're stress-free. And so the 60 or so or more experts that we have are bringing you this worldwide wellness movement in an attempt to share their testimonies and their information with you. So we have from age 14 on up. I don't even know what the oldest age is. I think 88 or something. So you see, that's a wide range of knowledge that we're bringing you. And so we hope that you come and that you get all the knowledge that you need to affect a positive change on your life, and share this with others. It's free, it's online, and so we're just so thankful that you decided to be a part of our listening community, the viewing community, and we certainly appreciate you for giving us your time of day and your energy and your efforts to being with us and to being a part of this historic event. We have pulled together people of color for you, by you, right? So we want to make sure that you understand that we too, melanated people with color, can enjoy, practice, and participate in some of these modalities that others have been doing for centuries, and that is pretty new to our community. So we talk about Qigong, we talk about meditation, yoga, spiritual work from a different perspective than religion. So we talk about the spirituality aspect. We talk about abuse in the families. We talk about all kinds of subjects because we know that in our communities there are layers and layers and layers and layers of stuff that we never talk about that's causing a negative effect on our bodies and its healing process. So we address it, whatever it is, and we hope that you will benefit from the many experts that we have, and that you walk away with lots of knowledge and lots of new information, and that you become fully empowered to share information with others. So thank you for being with us. We love you and we bless you, and we look forward to doing this again. But thanks for being here with the first one. We appreciate you.
Love and wellness. Life, love and wellness.
Welcome to Life, Love, and Wellness Global, a worldwide wellness movement. Today we're honored to have Dr. Barbara King, is Bishop Dr. Barbara King, with us. She wears so many hats that it's just, sometimes it could be a challenge to keep up with all of her accolades that she's accumulated during her lifetime. So Dr. Barbara, as she is affectionately known, would you introduce yourself to our worldwide community, please?
Well, I think you've done a good job. I'm a bishop, I'm a doctor, I'm also a Nana. I am known as Nana Yatumwa the first, as the first African-American woman to be a chief with the Ashanti tribe in Ghana. So that's my proudest thing, I think, that has happened, because they don't have women chiefs. And I've been honored by them in that role. But I'm very happy to be with you during this time to share some thoughts about what I believe about health and spirituality. It was in the early 70s when I lived in Chicago that I met my mentor, the Reverend Dr. Johnny Coleman. I had never heard of the International New Thought Alliance, and she said, you have to go to the convention. So with her, I went to the International New Thought Alliance convention. I forgot what city we were in, but they meet from city to city each during the summer months. And it was there that I first heard about spirituality, because coming out of a Baptist background, we didn't talk about spirituality. We talked about religion and the Bible and knowing your scriptures and going to heaven, and that was good. It was a good foundation, because you have to come from some foundation to move to where you are. But I didn't know about the spirituality. And the thing that impressed me the most about it was that I didn't know I was a spiritual being. No one ever told me that I was a threefold being: spirit, mind, emotions, and body. That was a new idea for me, and I latched onto it because within my very own being, I would get ideas, thoughts would come. If I had to make a decision, I could get still. I always liked to get still. My daddy joined the Catholic Church. They taught me how to be still, following him to church. And I would get ideas, and sometimes I'd use them, sometimes I'd ask somebody what they thought, or I'd be afraid to use it. And I knew there was something different within me, but I didn't know what it was. So when I got into the movement of New Thought, I began to realize that was the spirit in me, because if you're a threefold being, and Paul says your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit, there are many evidences that there is something greater about us than what's outside of us. And so I began to embrace that idea that what I was getting was ideas and thoughts and understanding from that creative spirit that was in me. Now that's hard for a lot of people to accept, because we've been so used to saying, well, I'm only human. And being only human divorces you from being that spirituality, a spiritual person. And then my mind, I didn't realize how much your thinking, what you produce in your thoughts, has something to do with what your reality is. That was new for me. And then my body, even though I had heard kind of maybe once or twice in the church about the Holy Spirit, I didn't hear it all the time. So then it occurred to me, if I'm a spiritual being, then it's housed within my body. And because of the energy field that we live in, whatever I say goes into that energy field. So it was an awakening like never before. I embraced Johnny, I embraced her church. I went to the meetings. In fact, they called me to speak several times. And I was always the one that would talk about our eating habits and our exercising habits, and how I think it had a lot to do with what was happening to our bodies. And that's one key point I want to make, because when you are emotionally strapped, your emotion will attack that part of the body that's the weakest. So if you're going through any kind of physical challenge and your emotions just don't understand, you're fearful, you're worried, you don't know what the doctor's trying to do, all those ideas would flood your mind, but they will flood also the body. Because I also learned that your cells are intelligent. It's so much about the body that we need to know that we don't teach. So when I came back from that first meeting, boy, I was hot with information. But having begun a ministry here in Atlanta, the first woman to step out as bold as I did, people in the South are good eaters. They like good old soul food, as they call it. They get by saying comfort food. And when I started talking about white flour, white sugar, and bringing people to the podium who could supposed to, they thought, where did she come from? But finally, I think what has embraced Atlanta, some people have come in especially from the East Coast, that have embraced healthy eating for a long time, have embraced being a spiritual being for a long time, and now we've been saturated with health food stores and all kinds of conferences. You saying that, Lead. I love your book on the groceries. I gave you the name.
God's Groceries.
But it's such a wonderful book. I got it at Dr. Mark Armstrong's place. I said, I gotta have one. I can't wait to get one. I'm gonna buy this one. But we're being flooded now with people coming with what we need to hear about vitamins and herbs, and that helps us a great deal. People have now found out what their blood count is, what they should or shouldn't eat. But when you think about spirituality, it's really a way of living. It's a way of embracing who you are as a spiritual being. We say you're a spiritual being, living in a spiritual universe, governed by spiritual laws. Many people don't understand that. But when you begin to use meditation as the seed of, I like to think of it as the seed of my activity, to get into meditation, get still, and learn to listen. See, we talk so much, there's so much going on around us. We embrace the outer, but we don't embrace the inner. And so when you begin to get still and begin to listen, it's amazing. It's amazing what comes to you. It may be a hunch. Sometimes I just know what I know. I can't tell you why, but I know what I know. But the main part of it is that it has a lot to do with your being still. This is a month for our faculty of power, and power is governed by stillness. You can only know power when you learn to be still. And so I think that those of us who know this truth must get it out to the people. The sad thing that I think, and I don't want to judge, but our churches haven't caught on yet. Our traditional churches have not caught on. Some have. Some of them have centers where you go and take exercise, but they're not telling people that the combination of your spiritual life has a lot to do with your physical life. In fact, it has all to do with it. And so getting people to see the need to move in that direction. I think I've been blessed because my background is social work. And as a social worker, we had to learn so much in terms of workshops and having people engaged in different kind of groups. So Hillside moves in that direction because that's my experiences. But I'm working with as many people as I can to get them to see the need for embracing more of the spirit world, if you will, than this outer world, because the way we're going now, there's enough to keep you almost afraid to live. And you have to embrace fear. Fear is there. People are worried about the economy, they're worried about Social Security, worried about the Medicare, health insurance, worried about the actions of our wonderful president. So when you get all that and you get that into your mind, you don't have time to think anything else but that. So as I say to people, you get afraid, find something to say that will embrace you so you can get that fear thought out of your head. But eating properly, let me go back to the eating. Now, they laugh at me. Sometimes I say, I gotta have a pork chop just once a year. We laugh about it. But the truth is that there are certain foods that you can embrace according to what your blood count is. I'm O positive, so I have a list of things that I can eat. And she said to me, the young woman at the vitamin shop, she said, now, the things on the side you can't eat, there's nothing wrong with them, but what it does in your body. And so therefore, I know if I eat certain things I shouldn't eat, my feet will swell. And that is really, really something. Because I'm tall and I have to keep my feet elevated to keep the blood circulating up, because I've learned that if my blood doesn't circulate, I'm going to have some swelling anyway. So when you begin to watch your body and what it does with certain foods, what it does with certain activity, you can begin to see, wow, Spirit is telling me to be careful. Spirit is telling me, don't go in that direction. Now, I had cheese, no cheese for me last night. I said, I want some cheese. I had cheese and some crackers. I knocked myself out last night, and I felt it. So I realized that the things I shouldn't eat, my body's going to respond to it. But Spirit is telling me not to eat. I'm just saying, I know what you're saying, God, but just a little cheese won't hurt. But it's a wonderful world to live in, the spirit world, and you shouldn't be frightened about it. I told a story about a balloon. My dad, when he first transitioned, spoke to me, and I believe we're so close to each other that we can feel each other and know each other. And my dad said he was working, but he would come back later on. That's been maybe 20 years ago. And two people in the church gave me balloons for Valentine's Day. One said Happy Valentine's Day, and one said I love you. Well, the one said I love you, it diffused quite quickly, but the other did not. My young lady that lives here with me, she came upstairs one night. The balloon came right upstairs with her from the kitchen. Came all now I'm on the third floor. The balloon came up the stairs. It scared her. She stepped back, came to my room and went around my bed a couple of 3 times and settled next to me. And I said, look, I don't know who you are, but I don't want to sleep next to you tonight. Please go over there and sleep. The balloon left my bed, settled. I have a fireplace, settled on the fireplace, and stayed there. It has just fused itself to where it's, but I had to stop thinking, well, who is this trying to get a message to? That's the spiritual. Some people are afraid of it, but you don't have to be, because when you get grounded in the laws of God. Now we follow the principle of Jesus Christ. Everybody has their own teacher. I like him. When you get grounded in those spiritual laws, you begin to realize what is really the truth for you, that when you give, you receive, that when you love and not hate. When you learn to forgive yourself and give others, what happens is you touch a part of you that you didn't know was so real. And when you touch that part of you, what happens is you begin to see things, you begin to feel things. And I know that was my daddy. I just got still and I got that leading. That's your daddy. So things come in all kinds. God, spirituality is a powerful thing, but it comes, it embraces you, you embrace it, and all of a sudden you just know that's something I'm learning, something I'm knowing I didn't know before. The more I mature in years, the more I'm aware of who I am. But that doesn't mean I don't practice. You know, Johnny said, works if you work it. That doesn't mean I have to work it. I'm like anybody else. If I stop working, I'm back to square one. So I have to keep up my meditation. I have to keep up my readings. I have to keep up what I believe to be the truth. When you teach people, you must live what you teach. So therefore, they say, well, you look, you're 87, you don't look 87. I said, well, how am I supposed to look? So I'm just looking like I'm supposed to look. But the truth is, when you embrace your spirit has a way of keeping you young, keeps you youthful, because spirit is forever. It cannot die, and it's not old, it's not young, there's no age. So you can't help but be beautiful. So I'm very thankful for that opportunity to know that. I went to see Jan Van Zandt at the Fox Theater last week, and I decided I'm not going to wear any makeup. So I had on no makeup, and I love eyelashes. I didn't have no eyelashes, but I dressed properly. But I said, if they say I'm beautiful like this, I'm gonna give it a try. When I got there, of course, she knew I was coming. She had arranged special seating for us, and with my guests. And when we got ready to leave, her manager came and said, we want to interview you for a documentary. I said, excuse me? And I said, oh my gosh. And they took me out in the outer areas of Fox, where they sell the hot dog and stuff. And I sat there, and they interviewed me for her documentary. But when I sat there, I looked at my little friend, just McCloyd, and I looked at my guest, and I said, hey, honey, you look beautiful. I said, I'm going to have to leave that tonight, because I like my makeup. But you see, at that moment, it's not about the makeup. It's about what your spirit brings forward. And I talked so with him that he said, I asked every question you go ask me, because once I start talking, he said, you answered everything I wanted to know. But I had to stop and think. You went there in love. You sat there in love. You love Iyanla. You love what she does. And people coming to me that I didn't know, saying, hello, aren't you Dr. Key? Because she acknowledged that her church was Hillside and I was a pastor. And I just realized, you're beautiful no matter what. So don't worry about you didn't have on the lipstick, you didn't have on this. You were dressed properly. You chose to do that. You wanted to relax. And so you did. So it's okay. I have not seen what they filmed. They didn't show me that night. It's a divine order. But again, your spiritual presence will allow you to be comfortable no matter where you are. And so that's my story. I know I'm a spiritual being, and I work at it by making sure that I take time to be still and to listen, and to know. The other thing is that, and I'll close with this, when we get a message, we sometimes don't receive it, or we receive it, we don't use it. One thing about spirituality, when you get something, you need to be able to say yes to it and know that it's coming just for you, not for everybody else, but for you. And so many times we find our friends our confidants we think to talk to, but everybody didn't get the message. And so sometimes they will mislead you with what they think is right or wrong. And you have to realize that it was right for you from the beginning. And with that in mind, then just take off. Follow every step. Don't be in a hurry. Don't get frustrated. But know that whatever's happening, because you relied on that inner presence, it can't help but work out okay. So that's my take on spirituality, and that's my take on knowing that God is good all the time.
So, Dr. Barber, taking that same philosophy that you were just telling us in reference to not sharing what God has put in you to do with other people, I remember, 25 years ago, whenever you experienced a health opportunity, you were very deliberate not to share it with everybody.
Right.
You would do what you needed to do, and then you would come back and let us know.
Right.
Can you address that with the importance of why that is so important?
Well, it's important because so many people have their own ideas about what should and shouldn't be. And I learned very early in the movement that people don't always pray in your honor either. That their prayers may be prayers against what you're doing. That there may be prayers for your healing, but you don't know that. So when you don't share it, it gives you time to meditate and build your faith to know that you'll be okay. Now, that has been mistaken by many people. It's happened to your side. Somebody said, well, you said don't tell nobody. And next thing you know, they're almost out of here. But that has nothing to do with whether you're out or in, and do with your desire to live. And so when you do that, then people can't talk about it. Oh, my sister had that. Or they always align you with something else that's like that. And when I had my health challenge, I even left town because the doctor I was going to was out of town. But I didn't lose contact with the ministry, and I did come back when I finished up my treatment. So the reason for that is simply so that you don't get somebody telling you what can and cannot be done in your case. And invariably, I've seen it happen times. Somebody will tell you, my uncle had it, my aunt had it, or this is what may happen to you, and you don't need that. Now, it's not the easiest thing to do for many people, but I've learned to just keep quiet. And if I mention the disease, they say if you talk about it, you bring it back. So I'll just say I had a health challenge, or with the big C, but never giving it the power. You have to be careful about giving a disease the power. So that's where I am on that one.
Very good. Thank you so much. This is a documentary to help people around the world with understanding ways that they can partake in self-care. Is there any last words of wisdom, advice, suggestions that you would offer to the world as far as living a healthier lifestyle?
Well, living a healthier lifestyle is important for all of us because we're having climate challenges, global changes, and if we are not aware of what's happening around us in the environment, we won't live a healthy lifestyle. It takes work these days. It takes work to live a healthy lifestyle because the television gives us so much that looks so good. I was looking at a key lime pie a while ago, and I just felt like getting me a slice of key lime pie. But the truth is, the commercials are directed to people and to your consciousness. And and we have in the conscious level, we have a conscious level, we have a subconscious level. And you keep yourself over and over and over again, it influences that subconscious, and you will go out and do it every time. So you have to embrace getting away from so much of the outer that's around us. The sandwich's tooth of a hot dog, tooth out of the middle is good, but you don't know what's in that hot dog. We have to begin looking at when we buy things to see what the sodium intake is, what the sugar intake is. It may not be the truth all the time, but at least you got something, you know that you can do this. So I would suggest that people be more aware of who they are, their own body temple. Listen to the body. The body will tell you things. I'd be aware that my environment has a lot to do with what I select to do, and I'd be aware that in the midst of it all, I can live a healthy life. I think that with the meditation, with the listening ear, because we hear but we don't listen, with the listening ear, and with the idea, my desire is to be healthy. I had a fall last year, and my knee has been slowly healing, but I learned something. I've been walking all over the place by walking cane. The barometric pressure has a lot to do with it. So when it's raining and cold, my knee is wonderfully acts up. But it's been 80 degrees. I've been having a ball. I said, just go girl, look at you. So the point is that being aware of yourself and your body temple, what the environment does for you makes a big difference. I think that if a person has a desire, I've been in physical therapy for a year now, and I've lost a lot of weight that I would never lost had I been in physical therapy, because you try to exercise. I'm a couch potato. I sit on the side of the writing my sermons. We got all kinds of stuff we do that we know we shouldn't do, but the exercise with them has done a lot for me. So I would say that find out what your body's like, listen to it, work at eating healthy according to what your body desires. I would say use meditation as often as you can. And I would say find a spiritual place where people spiritually are gathered together to find out who they are. That's important. Because so many times we stay by ourselves. But when you have a spiritual place where people are teaching these principles, it makes you much, much better off.
Thank you so much, Bishop Dr. Barbara King, founder of Hillside International Truth Center right here in Atlanta. She serves as the spiritual mother to so many individuals around the world. And she has more stories. You can find them in her books. Thank you so much, Dr. Barbara.
Thank you for asking me. God bless.
Life, love, and wellness.
Tonight we have with us the faith-filled, energetic, compassionate Jill Cromartie. Now with Jill, and I want to say this as an introduction, I met her as she was doing Qigong. And as a master practitioner in Qigong, she was always so zen-like and so peaceful, and she taught the movements. But in getting to know Jill, her life is so much more than Qigong, and so that's where we're going to come from. But first, let me introduce, or have Jill to introduce herself to you in the manner that she would like to. So Jill, would you tell us who you are?
Well, the first thing I would say is I'm not a master of anything. I'm on the path. I have my place on the path. There are people that are so much more experienced than I am, but I find my place and I just go with that. I grew up in Scotland. I spent most of my life in Scotland, and then had a spell in Italy before going back to Scotland and then coming back to the States. So here I am on the unwinding path, and who knows? This is me, and let's chat.
Okay, let's do it. So Jill has written a book, and it was for her family, for her nieces and nephews, to share a part of herself with them, and just an excellent book. I was impressed because she made this trip by herself with just a backpack on, and she met all these beautiful souls. And so in discussing the story with her, I found out just how much she's lived her whole life in faith. And so we want to kind of go through, perhaps travel down that road with Jill for a minute. So Jill, when did this adventurous part of you, when did it surface?
Oh, I know that as a kid, I always had two things in my favour. I always had something I was really passionate about, and I always had the dedication and the willingness to practice. And so I found that with passion for anything and putting in practice, then that's pretty much all I need. I won't say it's all everybody needs, but I know that it's all that I need and all that I needed as a child growing up, and really all I need as an adult too. So my real passion as a kid was what you call soccer. We called it football, but it was soccer for me. And I asked my parents, when did I start kicking in football? And they said, well, when you could start walking. And so it was a great thing just to have something that I loved. The only problem, and maybe the great divine was having a bit of a joke, because I happened to have that passion for a sport that really was not accepted for females. So I grew up in a country where soccer was a man's game, and really there wasn't much opportunity, but I don't know, it didn't prevent me. I still carried on playing, and then one day something magical happened. I was watching my brother's team play, and they had an organised league, and they were playing under 11 years of age, and they needed an extra player, and this was my opportunity. And so the coach said, do you want to play for us today? I said, yeah, of course. So I went on, and one of the things that I found as a girl growing up and playing in a boys' team, in order to be accepted, just accepted, I had to prove myself worthy and prove myself better. And that kind of fueled my passion. That, it was just another thing for me to say, great, this is good, this is fuel for me, I'm going to use it that way. And so I got to play in the game, and boy, they were surprised. They suddenly realised that, oh my goodness, here's someone who's much better than all of the boys. And at the end of the game, they said, look, will you sign for us and play for us till the end of the year? So, this is me. It was like winning the lottery. It was my absolute dream come true. So I played at the end of the year, and I kind of stood out. Not because I was just female, but really because I was better than a lot of the boys on the team. So at the end of the year, when they had this big celebration and who was going to be voted the best player, who was going to be winning the prize for the top goal scorer, it was Gillian, Gillian at this time. So I won a lot of awards. And then, they put this tiny little article in the local newspaper, and it said, this was a really good year for the team, and look what happened, and this female won this and this. And within about a week, my world fell apart. It fell apart because I then got a letter from the Football Federation, the governing body of soccer in Scotland, and they said, oh, we didn't realise you were female. You're now officially banned from playing soccer. And I just cried. I was so devastated. I didn't understand it. I said, look, I'm not doing any harm. I'm just playing a game that I love, and no one's getting hurt by it. It's just why. I was 11, and I didn't know why. And then, this was 1976, and the Sex Discrimination Act had just come out in the UK. And so, the media, a lot of the paparazzi, thank goodness there wasn't the internet, thank goodness there was no Twitter or Facebook at the time. But, I went to school, and my teacher said, oh, I'm sorry you got banned from playing football. And I said, how do you know? And she said, oh, have you not seen the newspapers and the billboards? And suddenly there was a vulnerability. And the disappointing thing was, I then received a letter that it was hate mail, it was the start of hate mail, and it was things saying, oh, we're so glad that you were banned, this is a man's game and you should be learning how to wash dishes and cook food and everything else. And I grew up, I realised that, okay, I'm 11, but I'm getting some messages here that are pretty strong, and actually, as an 11-year-old, I had that fighting spirit that was, I'll show you. It's like, I'm still going to do it. And so I managed somehow to find a way there was a female team, and they said, come and play with us. It just so happened that the youngest person on the team was 21. And the ages range from 21 to about 35. And when you're like this high and 11 going on 12, it's a big step. But I still had the passion, I still wanted to play, and I still carried on playing, and even, I kind of set a couple of records for achievements and things. But then, football left me. It left me for a while, and I went in different directions. I found myself pretty much living a life that I knew that my parents wanted for me. I knew they wanted me settled in maybe an office job, maybe Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, start putting money into a pension fund. And I was young, and I really, really didn't know, and I just felt the desire to think, I don't even know who I am anymore, I don't know myself. And that set me off on a path of just kind of seeking and thinking, okay, what is it? What is life about? What am I about? Who am I? What am I about? And so I packed a rucksack. This was, I think I was about 21 years old. I left my really steady job, left everything in Scotland, and I said to my parents, I'm going off to Europe. And I went off, and I ended up selling hamburgers in a place in Denmark and living in a tent and being on my own. But I learned more in probably 4 weeks of being on my own than I'd ever learned in the 21 years on planet Earth. I learned so much about myself in silence. Who was I? What was I like when I was faced with my own silence? What was I like when I was away from all of my familiar territory? What was I like when I was engaging with foreign people? Because growing up in Scotland, it was fairly sheltered in, the 80s and things like that. So, that was incredible. And I found myself just saying, okay, I'm going to go around Europe. I'm going to hitchhike my way. And I just, when people say to me, were you not scared? Did you not have a lot of fear? And I think part of it would have been my own naivety at the time, but another part was trust. I had a tremendous amount of trust, and I still do. I still have a lot of trust. And even though I didn't know where I was going, I would wake up and not know which direction. I'd look at a map and think, let's go here. And one day I decided, I was in Spain, I wanted to go to Greece. And I just set out with my thumb and hitchhiked my way to Greece, and still trusting in humanity, trusting that, and I think that's beautiful. It was wonderful to feel that. And so, I went on all the ways, and it just set off this absolute passion for me to just keep moving, keep discovering, keep meeting other people, and all the time parts of me were being revealed as well. And so I ended up, after a few months, I thought, okay, this is it. I've learned a lot, I'm going to go back to Scotland. But then I still had this desire to travel. Now travel was my great passion. This is what I wanted to do. And, one day I just said, I would like to go to Israel. I didn't know why. There was nothing that, I don't have links or anything, but I really wanted to go. So one girl that I'd met in Denmark the year before, we remained pen friends, and so I said, I want to go there, and she said, I'll meet you. Now, whether or not she was going to be there, I don't know, but I turned up in Tel Aviv, and she was there. And we ended up, we worked in a youth hostel, And then we started to travel through Jerusalem, learning. This was the best geography, the best history lesson I could have ever dreamed of. I would fall asleep in history in school, in class. It was just heavy subject. I didn't really like it. It didn't inspire me. When I was living it, when I was going to the places, learning on site, it was a new world for me. So we did this, and then one day when we got to the south of Israel, we said, what will we do? And we said, toss a coin. And the coin said, go into the desert. And we went into the Sinai desert, and we came across a tribe of Bedouins, and they welcomed us as guests. And we stayed, I think, for probably about 6 weeks. And all we had to do was walk the camels, get some water from the well, and just really sit around in community. And I think it's one of the most beautiful experiences of my whole entire life. We didn't do anything. We were just being. And we were just being in that community. I can't even remember what language was spoken, but I understood them and they understood me. And we would, just play backgammon. Eating was a great ritual, just everybody in the chief's tent and sitting around and sharing food, sharing stories, sharing just our presence. Simple. It was the most simple existence, but it touched me deeply. I would never ever forget it. But what's particularly interesting about that part is one of the Bedouins was going up to Egypt and said, do you want to go to Egypt? Would you like to see Cairo? And so me and my friends said, of course, let's go. So we went to Cairo, and they had some family there, and they let us meet their family, and so everything was just incredible. I went back to Scotland. I decided that's it. I've done my traveling. I'm going back into sport, and I'm going to do physical education at college. And I started to study physical education and sports coaching, and one part was soccer. I had to start coaching and teaching soccer, and my passion for the game just reignited. And this was me now about 23, 24. And I want to start playing. And if there's a possibility, I don't know what's going to happen, and I got invited to play a tournament in Amsterdam. And we had one day off. We were in the city of Amsterdam, me and my colleagues from the team, and then we were just sitting daydreaming, and suddenly I turned around and I saw a person, and it was the Bedouin from the desert. And at that particular tournament, there happened to be an Italian scout for a team. They offered me the opportunity to go to Italy for a trial to become a professional soccer player. And that was just incredible, the links and how everything was just mapped out. And I didn't know I was going to end up there, but I just was being led, and I was willing to go. And so when I got to Italy, it turned out that they were only allowed one foreign player per team. And so the foreign player that came had to make the difference. They had to be the one that kind of stood out and made a bit of a difference to the team. And really, for me, it's the absolute and coming full circle, because that was the equivalent of me and the boys' team. I had to prove myself there. So when I had to do it in Italy, I knew that game. I knew how to do that. And I had just glorious years of playing soccer at my highest level. Fantastic, just memories, opportunities. And so, yeah, that was the great discovery. But then I have, I'm just always lost or found. That's it. It's sometimes I'm absolutely found, and that's what happened there. And then sometimes I get absolutely lost. It just happens that way. And my time of being lost was after football, when I was in a relationship with a person, believed that this was going to be the one for me and everything else. 10 years together, and then 5 years of it weren't that good, and I knew that it didn't feel right, but I stayed. I stayed for probably a host of reasons, maybe not even admitting the truth to myself, but just feeling that I'm hanging on because this is pretty much all I've got. It felt like coming off of football, it was like, okay, now I've just hit the bottom again. It's like, oh, now who am I if I'm not this soccer player? What identity do I have? And I was always sort of wrapped up in that. And that's really what inspired me for the little booklet that I wrote, because this was my I called it the soul's pathway to grace, because it was the walk. I chose to walk the Camino de Santiago, which is the way of St. James. It's a walk in Spain after the death of Christ, when the apostles came out to preach Christianity. St. James took the route through France and northern Spain, and so he had lots of followers he set up, and it's become this pilgrimage, and people walk it and have been walking it for centuries. Now, I wasn't looking for anything spiritual, anything religious. I wanted a good hike. I wanted something that would remind me, hey, you're living. Come on, get moving, start doing something. And so once again, and now I'm in my 40s, I put the rucksack on and I turn up in the middle of a little town in Spain, not a clue where to go, what to do, but just having the ultimate faith of just go, it'll be okay. And so I started to walk, and as I started to walk, it was late in the day, and I kept turning around and I kept looking at civilization getting further and further away from me, and I'm going further into the mountains and the wilderness and thinking, I feel vulnerable. There's a huge vulnerability that comes with that. What can you do? You have to face it. You just keep going, just keep facing it. And then I met at the first place, I met this young man, and I said, look, do you know where I can stay? And he said, yeah, there's a cattle shed. You stay here, I'll stay with you. And then suddenly all of my fears were coming up again, and all of the things that I was battling, like my lack of trust in relationship, my lack of trust in men because of just the disappointment that come, and everything was suddenly, I had no option. I'm there, I have to live it. And it turned out he was the most pleasant person. He became my walking companion for a while, and I discovered that all along the way people would come and go, and that was, I got some amazing life lessons that people would always come and go. And then the other thing that was particularly interesting for that walk was, as I carried on, one day I suddenly became overwhelmed with emotion, and I didn't know where it was coming from, what was happening, but it was like, I started to cry. And then I walked around the corner and I saw this statue, and I saw a nun praying in front of the statue, and I knew that I had felt her presence way back then, and it was just a moment of watching reverence, watching that beauty of someone deep in their own faith, and just, you know, I wouldn't even say it was tempting. I wasn't tempted to take a picture. You know, a lot of people, especially now, would just, I want a picture, I want to put it on Facebook. I wanted to respect the moment. I wanted to feel it with her. And then my emotion calmed down, and I moved on, and I got to my next point. And at the next point, I met this young man from Spain, and I was thinking, I know him. I know him. Obviously, I didn't know him, but there was a feeling, and I think that feeling is in the Celtic wisdom. It's the anam cara. It's the friendship, in the sense of belonging that comes when you meet a soul friend, when you know that there's always been a connection with other people. And his point was that he said, oh, I was so touched, I met this nun and I prayed with this nun for a long time that day, and so suddenly everything is starting to make sense, and it's deepening my own faith. It's deepening my own faith, and I'm always going into the unknown, but you know, I just want to do it. I just want to keep going with it, and so you know the walk carried on and everything else, and it was beautiful. I learned, like I say, so many lessons on it, but one thing, once again, if you remember the Bedouin when he turned up out of the blue, at the end of the Camino, which incidentally is about 500 miles, I walked 150. I had 10 days. I had to make tracks, and I was contemplating: will I take a train back to the place where I have to get the flight home, or will I take a bus ride? And it was going to be about 10 hours on the bus, and I thought about it and I chose the bus, and so we set off on the bus journey. I was ready just to rest, and the driver said, well, we have to make a stop just for 2 passengers, and he made his stop, and who got on the bus? The nun. And I drifted off to sleep with absolute contentment and knowing that I had been changed by that pilgrimage. I'd been changed, and I'm constantly being changed, and that's the beauty of coming back even to Qigong. Is that's what I like about it. It teaches us about transformation. Everything's transforming. Every day turns into night. Our breath rises and falls. It comes and goes, and there's always this movement, and there's always the opportunity. It's our awareness. It's not special, and believe me, I am no means a master of Qigong. I've been studying for 20 years. I consider myself a beginner, but it's such a beautiful way to live, and that's truly, I could travel all I want, but I find myself when I do Qigong as well, and that's pretty much most of my story.
But you know, it's such a wonderful lesson that could be applied to stepping out, like in a new career, or leaving your hometown where you grew up because you like it on the other side of the world, you know. And so those acts of faith, what you exhibited, you know, can be applied to all of that. And there was so much of you, like you said, that you learned in those processes. I think that's such a powerful story.
I think one of the things that hinders us more than anything is expectation. We want to know the end result. Tell me what the end result is going to be, and then I'll decide if I'm going to do it.
Good point.
If I don't know what the end result is, then the chances are I'm probably not going to do it. I'll just make an excuse, and there's always going to be a million excuses to do it. But really, all we're doing is we're undermining ourselves. We're not taking the opportunity. And so what if it doesn't work? So what if we don't know? And really, they're both the same. They're failure or success. It's yin and yang. It's both things. We're always going to have, you know, even my football, I had moments where I was described as someone with magical feet, and then I was described as someone with 2 left feet. But they're just labels. It's still us. It's still us at the end of the day, and it's us being willing to be us. Just be willing. Yeah, I mean, I still meet all of my vulnerabilities. I still meet some of my fears. I still meet, and I will always meet them. It's just the way it is. But they become less intimidating, and I keep just having faith on the path of I'm just living. And
you get the confirmation with picking up the nun on the bus, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the bed ones, it's like, okay, someone's
I
already
know.
mapped this out, and I'm just joining the dots now, and I'm just seeing a picture emerging, and that truly is, that's heartening. That gives a lot of heart to, and you know, one of the things in the book that I said as well is that I came across some part of the journey when I was getting quite scared, and all I could see was black ravens flying above my head, and I'm thinking, okay, this is a sign, this is not good, they're black ravens, and I didn't know anything about perhaps the spirit animal or anything, and I'm thinking, oh, this is not a good sign. And later on I came to realise that ravens are actually wonderfully symbolic and just about showing us the path of ahead and everything else. But you know, some things we just don't know, and it's in hindsight, it's good. And maybe had I known that, it would have been easier. But then I wouldn't have had the opportunity to live through the fear of it. That's what.
That's key. I like that. I like how you said that. Living through the fear of it. There's so much courage in that. And the silence. You talked earlier about being in the silence, and you learn more about yourself. Was it 4 weeks? Then you had your whole first 21 years of life. Especially in this day and age with noise all the time and the electronics, the technology, we're always involved in something, you know, doing something. But just to be still and be in the silence, that is such an empowering experience. But too few of us will take the opportunity to do that.
I think it's, you know, it's back, when people see the symbol for Qigong or Tai Chi, actually, it's the Tai Chi symbol, yin and yang. What they don't forget is the word and, because they either want all good, no bad, or all action, no silence. It's not yin or yang, it's both, and it has to be both. There's nothing in nature that doesn't have both of these dynamics working. But we think we can control it, and we're part of nature too, and we have to find that balance. Of course you can have all action, lots of information, that's great, and keep building that, that's beautiful, but don't leave the other one behind, don't leave the silence behind. Just make sure that you're having a healthy dose of that too, so that you have the dynamic and the play of both of them that are going to happen. And silence for a lot of people is a scary place. They don't want to go there, they don't want to meet themselves.
Yes.
But you're you. Who are you if you're not you?
Right.
At the end of the Camino, you meet with someone and they ask you about your journey, and because they want to give you what we call a Compostela, an achievement certificate, just to say that you've walked this path. And you know, they'd said to me, well, why were you walking it, and what was your experience about, and everything else. And you know, I just said I just wanted a good hike, really. But when I told them some of the things that had been revealed to me and everything else, and they said, we're going to give you this based on your faith in the unknown. It was so I have, and I think that's what I have, is faith in the unknown. And even, you know, with my practice with Tai Chi, I just keep doing it. I don't do it because I think it's going to take me from here to there. I don't know where it's going to take me. I don't know where anything's going to take me, but I'm developing faith with it. That's what faith is for me. Practice. This is the only word we need to know. If you want to be kind, practice. If you want to be generous, practice. If you want to be adventurous, practice. If you want to do anything, practice.
Greetings, loved ones. Keep those peace signs together. Can you dig that? We don't need no division. We had enough of that. Bring them together. I'm going to say that I am Sandy Rodgers' nephew, because that's what she would say. A musician, writer, song producer, just a gifted brother, you know, on the earth doing my thing, giving it all I got. How about that?
That's wonderful. And thank you for that.
You're welcome.
And so, you know, we're on this movement
Yes.
to bring ideas and suggestion, education, and knowledge to individuals, more quality, a higher quality of life. Do you have any rituals that or practices that you engage in now that you think actually adds to that?
Well, you know what I'm going to say. Drink of yourself and live. Water of life. That water we make. I just simply call it piss drinking. That means pee in a cup and drink it. It's our prescription. You know, and most folks would hear that and they would say, We call that the factor because, you know, all of our life we've been taught that the water that this beautiful cistern, or this beautiful kingdom that we reside in, you know, produces something nasty and we must flush it. Au contraire, my brothers and sisters, that water we make of the streets of gold is the truth serum. It's the elixir of life. It's memory water. You know, and when you read the Bible, and I'll just say from my vantage point, because I'm a Bible lover, I've always been a lover of the book and the information in it. Whether true or not is really irrelevant. And what's true is, hey man, there is a Bible that was here when we were born. The information in it has always intrigued me. And the beauty of it is the story is about the water. The water separates in the book of Genesis, and in the Revelations, we're back into the water. So I've been drinking my water for 5 years now. And I haven't missed a day since that scripture hit me. Drink waters from thine own cistern. And in John chapter 7, where it says, he that believeth on me, as the scripture has said, out of his belly shall flow rivers of living water. I found it to awaken my mind, my spirit. I haven't been sick at all because that water that we make, you know, it truly knows us better than we know ourselves. And for those of you that know me, I do a Water of Life Symposium, and it's usually held in September. So whenever you're watching this, go to my website, wateroflifesymposium.com, and get into your water, baby. Drink of yourself and live.
So Anthony, I've been in your studio with you today.
Yes.
And I've watched you as a musician and a music engineer and a music producer. So you're making sure that everything lines up, the horns, the drums, the strings, and you do that with life as well.
Yes.
So how would you compare that and you're in therapy and wellness?
Wow. What stands out with a question like that would be alignment. You know, I just said that the water knows us better than we know ourselves. When we deal with music, for those of you out there that are musicians or musically inclined, you know that we operate in the circumference of 12 notes. Mostly every song you've ever heard has 12 notes, but we dance inside of frequency and sound and space. And that's the key to a good record or a good sounding song, where you play sound, because we operate in a circumference that is limited, just like a disc. And you know, I took you in there today and I showed you multiple sounds, and it's not just hearing sound, it's where you play sound. we hear and feel different things in different parts of our body. So low end or the bottom, or certain mid ranges that pulse, that feels a heart, certain highs that touch the top of the mountain, or those high frequencies, the space where a lot of strings reside. So I dance inside of the universe, and the music to me is an expression of how I see the anatomy and where I would put things to make it come alive. How about that?
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So I'm one of your biggest fans of all times, and I don't have a problem or hesitation, right, when you say, Auntie, do this or do that. And so for me, it was not hard to get into the water, and I'm absolutely loving it. Because it's a spiritual transcending. Would you agree with that, or what's your view
Oh,
on?
absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, the water decalcifies the mind. The water, we were born into it. You know, all of us started out in liquid form. You know, in most cases from our mother and fathers sharing of their ultimate pleasure. And along came the liquid that is us. And in the water of ourselves, over a period of time, 9 months or so, we form ourselves with no help from the outside world whatsoever. Here we come. The flip side to this formation is once we enter into the realm of flesh or dry land in the world of government, taskmasters, you know, rulers over people, laws. We're born into a realm of eating, consumption, and unfortunately, a separation from the same water that formed us, which is why we are sick, why we see our health declining in mass numbers. And it's when we return to the water, while we're in this flesh form, that we'll begin to awaken and break up those calcified places that over time, over institutionalization and learning versus unveiling, that we began to see. That's what the water does. The water breaks up all the calcified areas around the pineal gland, allowing the water from the top of the mountain to flow freely again through these beautiful cisterns. I call it the meat suit. And we began to live again. This body's like a tree. And this water that we make is an authentic water that replenishes this soil and rejuvenates the life that preceded us, that caused us to form in the first place, i.e. our ancestors. They get to live again. They all get to commune and reunite. And as they continue to build their relationship in the land that they inhabited, we come alive in real time. And you all probably notice that I glow. You can too. Drink up.
I love your enthusiasm for the work that you do. Tell us about how this Water of Life Symposium, how did that come about?
Oh man, listen, I'm sitting in my room one day with a couple of close family members of mine, Brother Timothy Wells, Sister Casey Weir, and we were talking. And Spirit just moved me. I sat up in my bed and I said, symposium. And then I said, what is a symposium? And I said, look the word up. So Casey, she goes into Google and she looks on Wikipedia and she looks up symposium and it says drinking party. And we all just went, wow. And I said, water of Life Symposium. I have to do that. Now, how to do that when I'd never heard of that was going to be the interesting part, but it also moved the creative gene in me to get started. And I immediately just picked up the phone and called a few people that I knew that drink. You, Auntie Sandy, being one. I said, Auntie, I'm going to have a Water of Life Symposium, and I'm going to have different people speak at it. Would you speak at it? And you, of course, said yes, because I'm your favorite. You know, I called Adria Jenkins Jones, who a brilliant mind, and had her start just putting things together with me. And then the interesting thing is, I built the website myself, so that's where a lot of my creative juices could flow, where I had ideas, I can, you know, put them on a page and then move it around, take some things off that didn't fit, and next thing you know, we got people from all over the world in Sacramento at the Hilton, 2017, talking about drinking their water of life. And we had a piss drinking good time.
The energy in that place was just incredible.
Yeah.
People communing and touching on a place of pure acceptance with one another.
Yes.
Like nothing I've ever seen before in any type of setting, a church, a synagogue, a mosque, nothing
Yes.
compared to that.
Right.
It was incredible. So what would be your hope for humanity?
You know, that's a good question, Auntie, because I think humanity is an individual ride. I think, you know, when you look at the scriptures, there's scriptures like, let he that hath an ear to hear, let him hear. That's not something you just wake up and say. The lines are motivated by a previous action. There's something that, you know, resonates with the mind before a line is said. I know because my background is music and theater. So when I hear a line like, let he that have an ear to hear, let him hear, you have to say what motivates someone to say that. And that would be, in my opinion, when you found yourself talking to someone and you're probably passionately giving it out, and you realize by action or lack of action that they're not operating in what you said. And you can feel some kind of way about that. Yeah, am I talking to these folks and they're not hearing me? And I know because when I first woke up to the idea of the water, and that was again through Miss Casey Weir, a sister that drinks her water. She came to me one day with the scripture. She said, I want to talk to you about this scripture. I believe it's in Psalms. Drink waters out of thine own cistern. And as many times as I heard that scripture, I knew right then. I said, I'm supposed to be drinking. I'm supposed to be drinking this water. Give me a cup. And from that day on, I've been drinking every day. And to the day of this recording right now, it's been about 5 years. So again, my hope for humanity would be in lines of let he that have an ear to hear. Because I realize that everybody is not going to hear this. The calcification goes deep. The self-hate goes deep. What we've been taught to become governed creatures, creatures to be ruled over, it goes really deep. Not everybody's gonna, awaken to, the top of the mountain on this ride, So my hope is that for those that hear, we come together and we drink and we commune, and for those that can hear, as we break away from the conditioning and break up this fallow ground and decalcify our thoughts, that we share that information one with another and share what happens in our experiences to constantly elevate. And hopefully our light will shine, and for those that can see, and some have said, something about you what is it that you do? Some will hear and some won't. And for those that do hear, hey, talk to anybody that drinks their water for any other time. They'll tell you it is the greatest gift that you could ever give to yourself. Drink up, folks.
You know, I understand the benefits that we receive.
Mm-hmm.
Are there other uses other than just drinking the water as well?
Oh yeah. I mean, I brush my teeth with it. I gargle with it. You know, put it up your nose. Drop it in my eyes. You know, for those of you that use eye drops, you probably use Visine and Murine. The "ine" comes from urine, right? For those of you that use skin products like Proactive and a lot of other lotions that are, or creams that are for acne and bad skin, they all have urea in it or some type of urine in it. But your water is the best water that you can use. I bathe in it. In the book, it also says, when I say the book, I'm talking about the Bible. For those that know me, they know I refer to the Bible as the book. In the book, it says, my cup runneth over, which means you ain't never gonna run out. I am with you even until the end of the world. What? The water of yourself, the fountain of youth. That water, you can't drink it all, but you're gonna always keep making it. Always keep making it. So I drink all day. I drink in the morning, I drink in the afternoon, I drink in the evening, and even still I don't drink it all. So I have some aged urine that I use, and oh my God, is it potent. Man, it's like liquid fire. I use it, I put some in my bath. You know, it's very relaxing. For those of you that use Epsom salt and all of those other things, try putting your water in your bath. You see, you talk about peeing in the tub? Well, yeah, pee in the tub and sit in the tub. And you'll find as you get over the yuck factor, you know, it's a real humbling journey as you build a relationship with yourself, you know, and start being a cohesive unit with your own body. Man, you talking about oneness. That's the epitome of oneness. Drink up, y'all. Y'all thinking about it right now. Y'all watching me and y'all saying, you know what? I think I'm gonna do this. And that's the beauty about it. You don't have to tell nobody because your water's with you. You can go to a room right now. You just go into a bathroom right now, take your cup and just sip it. Just look at it, look at how beautiful it is. And you know, everybody wants something rare, right? A rare painting, or a rare car, or a rare emblem of some sort. Because the more rare, the more valuable, right? Right. Well, how rare is your water? That water that you make, you won't find it anywhere else on the face of this earth. Only you can make it. Why do you think it's the first thing they ask you for when you go to the hospital? And you pee in a cup, and somebody walks in with some gloves, and they take it out of the room, and you never see it again. You might want to ask them for that back. Hey, bring that back. And what y'all doing with that? I'll take that. Because they want to take that which is authentically you, your prescription, that's that water, so that they can replace it with their version of a prescription. The goal is to keep you sick, well, wellness, well, the water, where the water lives. Wellness, actual relationship with the well. Anybody knows, the doctors will tell you that our bodies are what? 75 to 98% exactly water. know why? So that you never thirst again. Look in the mirror, pee in a cup, hold it up, and say those beautiful lines from that book. Drink of me, and you'll never thirst again. And drink up, gang. You heard me.
You do such a beautiful job of describing this incredibly free healing agent that
Wow.
we all have.
Yeah.
Is there any additional words of wisdom, insight, things that you may have picked up along the way that you would like to share with this worldwide audience?
Well, you use the word healing, and a lot of people that drink their water drink to heal because illness has preceded, illness has shown up in some type of consequence or some type of circumstance in the body or some diagnosis. And usually healing is what most would start to pursue when they drink their water. Let me share this with you. Healing is the low man on the totem pole when it comes to the water. That just comes with the kit. That's just cleansing yourself from all the foreign substances that occupy the land because we've separated ourselves from our life source. The book also said, my people perish for a lack of knowledge. Now, if you look at what a perishable is, anybody that's ever mailed a package at the post office, they'll ask you, do you have any perishables in your package, right? Because a perishable is a living organism separated from its root and or its life source. The book relates us to perishables because from the water we come, and on this dry land we separate from our life source. It's not just the cutting of the umbilical cord. That's when we're supposed to start replenishing the earth so that we subdue it. And when we forsake a land, just like vacant house, right? Most of you can tell a vacant house. Why? Without even knowing, you can see it in the landscape. Usually the land or the grass is dried up, the trees start to die because there's no water, right? You enter into the house, it's vacant, and chances are there are rats or rodents or roaches because they know when a house is empty. And that's what illness is. That's what happens to us when we separate from our life source and we open the door, we become vacant lots of sorts. And all kinds of substances and foreign objects begin to take over as though they're at home. And all of these fake remedies, there is no wellness that will show up from any other source other than the authentic source that gives you life. So healing is the low man on the totem pole once you start drinking your water. That's the very matter of fact. But wellness is the ultimate goal because beyond healing, there's an effervescent flow of water on display. We are the manifestation of the light of the world right now in real time. And again, wateroflifesymposium.com. Go check it out. Go to the UT news page. There's many articles, many radio broadcasts, including Life, Love, and Wellness, the Sandy Rodgers Show. We've done many shows, videos, and just sit back, open up your mind, let your spirit be free. Let's move out of this realm of regurgitating the same old thing over and over. Let's live our highest self, because I promise you, our highest self is found at the top of the chocolate Milky Way, where the water lives. Drink up, gang.
Thank you, Mr. King.
I love you, Auntie.
Love you more.
I love you.
Can you, Mr. King,
Yes, ma'am. I can.
share with us how old is this practice of urine therapy?
Oh, wow. That's a good question. I mean, in this realm of the idea of time, I would say it goes all the way back to the beginning. And somewhere along the way, we forgot or struggled to remember to drink our water, be it because of the agenda of a few, who knows, but we know our authentic space that we occupy is in the water. That's where we all come from, the water. Now, I think even a better question would be, how long have we been out of the water? And when you come to the Water of Life Symposium, it'll be held 2018 at the Westgate Hotel in Las Vegas. Be there. Not only am I going to talk about it, I'm going to show it to you. How about that?
Great.
Life, love, and wellness.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Let me begin by just saying thank you for this opportunity, for this platform. I'm really honored and deeply touched to have been asked to participate. So, I am Muja Shakir. Some people call me Dr. Shakir, and more fondly, I'm also known as Mama Muja. Yes, we are here at Nature's Garden for Victory and Peace, which is kind of a live-work environment. I live here in the home, but I also use my space as a workshop. We host all kinds of activities here, which I'm sure I'll be saying a little bit more about it. But just by way of introduction, I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, and I went and lived there until I was about 30. Although my parents, my mother and father, were both from Alabama, and it's really interesting how I ended up living here because it had not been in my cards, so to speak, until much, much later on. But as I said before, I grew up in Detroit, which was a really big city, majority black city, during the years that I lived there. And then in the early 2000s, I moved to Oakland, Berkeley, they call it the San Francisco Bay Area, where I lived and worked for 20 years. And then a part of what happened for me, obviously, I am the type of person that likes to have different and new experiences. I enjoy traveling and whatnot. So my visit to California, I actually thought was going to be a short visit. I mean, not a short visit. I mean, I knew that I had moved there, but I did not know that I'd end up staying there for 20 years. I ended up getting married, having my second daughter, and opening up a business, which was at that time called the Urban Village International Boutique and Community Center, and doing lots of political work to free political prisoners. I devoted about 10 years of my life to freeing Geronimo Pratt, who was released from 27 years of incarceration in around 1996, 1997. But the way that I ended up being in Alabama, being the type of person that I am, that like to have new experiences, I was taking a course at the California Institute of Integral Studies, and one of the professors gave us an assignment to envision where we wanted to be in 5 years and what we wanted to be doing. And at that time, they didn't really call it a vision board, but essentially that's what I ended up creating a vision board. I just thought of it as a collage. And I made the intentions to move to the Southeast, to buy land, and to build an institution. That was one aspect of what my vision board included. And I want you all to know that within 5 years of having worked on that vision board, I found myself accepting a teaching position at Tuskegee University as an occupational therapist, teaching occupational therapy. And I worked there for 16 years until I just recently retired. Now, during the 14 years that I had lived here, I found that I got caught up in just everyday life. You know, the life of just living, going to work, and doing whatever else I was doing. And then finally, sort of something came back over me, and I began to refocus myself on this vision that I had. Okay, so I had manifested the fact that I was in the Southeast, even though when I thought about where in the Southeast I wanted to go, Alabama was kind of like number 5 on my list. And after having lived in the Bay Area, I was more drawn to what I thought would have been like a coastal area. But what happened was that I saw an ad in a professional journal, and Tuskegee University was looking for a professor to teach occupational therapy. So I called, and all the doors opened instantly. I even had a friend of mine who is a Babulao to do a reading on it. And he said, Muja, it's a really good reading. It's a very strong reading. He said that if I got a reading like this, I would follow it. And he said that the ancestors had called me here. So with that good reading and my own desire to move, I decided to come. So that's how I landed here. And as I was saying, that for at least 15 of those years, 14 or 15 of those years, I didn't continue to pursue the fullness of what I had envisioned, but I had managed to get into the Southeast. And then I began to tell people in the area that I was looking to buy a home and some land. And there's a wonderful lady that doesn't live too far from here, and I refer to her as my angel, because I just told her, I said, I'm looking for, I want to buy some property. And I told her I was looking for a house and some land. And she said, well, I know of 2 places. And she took me to one place, and she brought me to this place. And I fell in love. She said, I think that place has 15 acres of land. And I was so ecstatic. The house was really in bad shape. It needed a lot of fixing up. But when I finally came to the land and then investigated like who was selling it, it turned out to have 57 acres of land. And not only that, but a pond. And she never mentioned the pond. And I call it a pond because I'm from Detroit, where we have the Great Lakes. And so it's hard for me to refer to it as a lake. But technically, they say that anything that's over, I think, an acre or over the size of a football field or something is considered a lake. But it's a decent size, and it has fish in it. And it's a man-made lake, but it's clear that it's being fed by underground water. And the 2 people who built this house, a husband and wife, they were both veterans. And I understand now from all of the local people that, he passed away. He was a pond builder. He was also an engineer in the armed services. And he clearly built the pond where there was underground water. So there are fish in the pond, and we don't have to feed them, or do anything. So it's a really nice ecosystem there. So that was very empowering because it taught me the lesson of manifestation. And even after I did the closing on the property, I would come here and I'd go down to the water and I would pour libations and I would pray, and I put all of myself into this desire that I wanted to acquire this property, and I was able to acquire it, and it was definitely a great blessing. The cost factors were really, really good, unbelievably good. One of my daughters said when she came to see the place, she said, "This is depressing." because she couldn't see what I could see, you know. But we made a lot of sacrifices. We were only really able to live in 3 of the rooms. The room that we're sitting in and 2 other rooms. The kitchen needed to be completely gutted. The living room, the dining room, and there are like 4 other rooms on that side of the property. None of them were habitable. And so each year we just did a little bit and a little bit. And so now we're almost done. There's only 1 bathroom that still needs to be done, and then a back porch. But we have turned this space into, I would say, almost like a community center. And it's interesting because I found that I was doing the same thing, and I didn't even think about it. But it's an example of, if you follow what you like and you go towards the things that you feel naturally drawn to, you begin to see that there's a pattern in what you're doing. Even sometimes I study things. I'll pick up a course here or there, and I had a friend of mine say, "Well, why are you taking that?" You know, but it's just like I'm drawn to it, and so that was another lesson. So the idea of putting your mind, body, and spirit into a quest, into a passion, into an idea that you have, and if you really want it, you can bring these things. And these are spiritual principles that are evident, throughout the universe, the power of manifestation. So that was really empowering and very affirming for me to have been able to manifest this land. And that because the whole experience was such a godsend, I decided that I wanted to put 25 acres, which is almost half of the property, into a community land trust. This is also a way of honoring what has been given to me, to now turn around and give it and to share with other brothers and sisters who are interested in building this holistic, intentional, transformative learning community. And so it's a holistic vision. And we're using the arts as the primary tool. And when we say the arts, we define the arts as any human activity or occupation that, when performed with mindful imagination, beauty, and social responsibility, as an art. So that means that it's bigger and broader than the performing arts or the visual arts or the things that we classically think of as being art. So it includes those things, but it can include any human activity, any occupation, as long as it's performed with mindful imagination, which is creativity, thoughtfulness, beauty. In other words, you want to create the best possible product. You want it to be aesthetically pleasing, and social responsibility. We don't want to get overly involved with capitalistic models or fast money or things that we know aren't sustainable, So that's our definition of art. And so that opens the door really for any person who has a great idea, whether it's the healing arts, visual performing arts, farming, because we got 57 acres here. We're called Nature's Garden for Victory and Peace. Yes, a physical garden as well as a metaphorical garden. That everything that we do, including our relationships with each other, our relationships with the broader community, should always be caring and healing, So it opens the door for people to participate on many different levels. Now, to take this concept of building a community a little bit further, and it took a while to really conceptualize this, a couple of years of just kind of stewing in it and thinking about it over and over and over again with others. we came to the realization that we wanted to create a community of people who are of similar mindset. Not exactly, because you're never going to find people who think exactly the same. We're always going to be individuals with individual perspectives. And so that means that we have to be in dialogue with each other. That means that we have to study together and have discussions so that we can begin to understand each other's perspectives in different languages that we might speak. So it seemed to us that it would be easier to build a community of like-minded people who all share some kind of spiritual practice. It's non-denominational. We don't care what your particular affiliation is, as long as it is something that is designed to help you to reach your highest manifestation of yourself. But that we would like to be together on some regular occasions, that we might pray together, or we might meditate together, or we might do some, we would share something as a community in the way of a spiritual practice, but that people would be free to have their own homes, their own quarters, and to establish their own businesses, but that there would be this unity and a supportive environment of giving and receiving, and for the collective good. And so that from this community, we could then provide services to the broader community. The broader community would then visit the community here for festivals, for example. We offer 2 festivals a year. We intend to create an academy that would be somewhat akin to a post-secondary school, where we could begin to train others in some of the different modalities that we have expertise in, and people could complete these programs with a accredited certificate. But that we would also have short courses too, speaker series.
Life, love, and wellness.
So today we're going to take a different spin on events and circumstances that contribute to the community life and family life. So we have a young man with us. I've actually had the pleasure of meeting and working with him very closely last year, and he has a powerful story to share. So parents, elders, caregivers of young people, I want you to listen very closely. My guest is Mr. James Hardy, and I'm going to have him to introduce himself to you so that he gets to tell you what he wants you to know about who he is. James, would you introduce yourself, please?
Well, yes, I am James Hardy, and I am 16 years old. I go to Jefferson High School, and there is a lot behind me still going to school and me still being here.
And what issues did you have to face, particularly as a young person going to school or just being out in your community with your neighbors and childhood friends?
There's a lot. For one, I wish I had my hearing on right now, but I don't. But I am partially deaf in one ear, in the right ear, and I am 100% deaf in my left ear. So, and that's one thing, wearing a hearing aid. And on that, when I was a baby, I was born with I think, I don't know what to call it, but it's something where my attested rib ear was an infection in my attested rib, so I had to have surgery on there, and then the doctors found a hole in my head, which was by accident. So I stayed in the hospital until I think September because I was born in July. So then I didn't come home till then, and there are a lot of things that I couldn't do, even though I don't do play sports because I don't like sports. So and I won't be able to play sports. And there are doctors that say that I won't be able to learn how to ride a bike because of I guess my balance and the way I am because of certain things with the medicine they gave me as a baby, which also affected me, and that's why I'm deaf because they have the medicine has lifelong side effects, and I wish it didn't happen, but at the same time it was either growth the rest of my life, death, or my mother. I guess my mother unplugged everything and just let me die as her first child. And so it was either that or that. So.
Well, we're lucky to have you still amongst the living because you have such a powerful story to tell. So, the hearing difficulty that you had young in life, did that affect how you were able to relate to your teachers or your fellow classmates?
A lot. Even though I had my hearing in, this was when back in the 2000s when I think this was when YouTube and everything started coming out, when everything was starting to, and then technology they were starting to take a huge turn, and because then I think you were like the hearing it with the string and the clip that you like clip to your shirt, and then there's the cord to your hearing clips all over your shirt. I had that when I was in kindergarten. That was a big thing that people noticed, and I knew what it was. I knew at the age of like 5 and 6 that okay, it helps me hear and I need it, but at the same time I couldn't do certain things because I didn't want to rip it out or like rip the cord or anything. And so it was also a good thing and a bad thing because if I took it out, I wouldn't be able to hear my teachers. And then when that happened, I actually did get frustrated. And then after that, when I get frustrated without the hearing aid, I won't hear certain sounds because with that, you don't hear certain sounds, so which caused my speech impediment, and then that made it a lot worse. So it had a good effect, a really good effect, and a bad effect.
So you knew you were special, or at least different from everybody else. Was that a positive? I know you said that having to wear the hearing aid so that you could hear was a positive, but what about like overall? Were you teased about it? Were you made to feel different because you did have this extra piece of something on your body?
When I was in elementary, like all throughout kindergarten and second grade, it really didn't mean anything because it was just like everything I felt good. Like it felt good. I'm like, okay, I have this thing that I can hear, and it's expensive. So I have something that's expensive, and you don't. If it's a little kid, it's logic or whatever. So at the time, it was really nothing until I got into like third grade. People, I guess, I don't know. It was the color. I chose the color because when I started to wear my home hearing aid, I would choose my own colors. And then my mother really likes purple, and I thought this one day, I don't know, this was the time she was sick. I thought it'd be a little special to get the hearing aid purple and black for her. And the kids started making fun of me because it was purple. And I had this thing on my ear that they didn't see anybody else wearing, so they were like, okay, you think just because you had that, and okay, why is it purple? Why is it blue? At first it wasn't nothing until it got worse when my speech was getting worse because of, I guess hearing aids are made different. They're like glasses. Some people need reading glasses, some people need seeing glasses, some people need contacts, just contacts. So certain hearing aids are made for right ear, left ear, or if you are deaf but you do have a little hearing on both ears, they made one is for right, one is for left. And I only have one right. So knowing that no sound, I can hear no sound in his ear was like, okay, he needs his hearing aid. Like, he needs hearing aid at a young age. Because I could have went on, probably wait until like at a little bit older, like in middle school, I would probably be like, okay, he, gonna be middle school, he needs it now. But since I was so young, and since I'm partly deaf, and just one ear is, I needed it, and so that's what made it hard. Cause it's like, okay, now people are teasing me about it. I need it, but I don't want to wear it because of just, I don't want people talking about me, like bullying me, like it messing with me. And then middle school was gonna take a turn because there was a lot more going on at home. So when my depression came in, that's when kids realized when I would try to talk, whether I was angry or whether I was just trying to talk, my speech was getting worse because of me not wearing my hearing aid. And that's one thing the teachers, my mom even was like, make that part of his grade because I was one of those kids, surprisingly, that was actually serious about my grade. So, and my mom knew, but she did it out of love. She didn't want me to go, okay, I'm gonna use your grades. She wanted me to like, without the hearing aid, I wouldn't hear any notes or anything. I wouldn't hear anything with the teacher saying. But in middle school, it was the same girl that I thought she would leave me alone when I was in third grade, third, fourth, and fifth. I don't know what happened. Like, something happened with her family, my family. I don't know. She would, be nice, but then once she didn't get her way with me, or once I would try to get after her, she would always shrink out my hearing aid. And then sometimes in class, I would walk by, she tripped me. But it was just a lot of things, and then she would just have other kids joining with her, like followers. And so where it broke me was the fact that it wasn't just one person, it was people, with other people either that I knew that I didn't know, or just people that I saw would say, and then they would say mean things about stuff that didn't have anything to do with my history. They would just say mean things about me. I guess being the certain words that I don't like using. At the time, I didn't like seeing the F words, like F word, as in for like the LGBT community. It was just a lot, and so there was a lot going on with that and at home. And then people were talking about my mother, how they would say, what mother can do this, but you can't do this, who can drive but won't do this, who can do this, who can get a house, do this, who can't pay this, who can do all this but not have a job. And it was just like, my anger getting worse. So what made me frustrated to fight was if I can't get it out in words, I want to hit them instead of trying to talk it out, trying to calm down. So that's when the violence came. Then I was getting in more trouble because I was the one fighting more. I was either slamming stuff, breaking, like either punching holes in walls, but it just got to the point where like now I'm the one being punished for being hurt, but at the same time, it's like you don't know what to do. You don't know whether you should just stop talking, let them run away, cry, or just sit there and fight. But starting in 7th grade, I turned to alcohol at a young age because at a young age, my father, he sold drugs, but he would sometimes drink a lot. And my mother and her, like, you don't, like, I guess, I don't know if it's me, but something like watching your mother and your father fight and watching your father give your mother a black eye at the age of like 1 or 2 is so traumatic. Like, it doesn't leave your head. Like, I guess the baby, like, I don't know what it is, but to me, like, that's something that doesn't go away. So no matter how angry I am, I always try to stay calm, try to do better for my mother. But at the same time, when she would get disappointed, it wasn't out of anger, it was out of hatred. Because if that's the case, when I was born, she could have took a break on her 21st birthday. Could have went out, could have said, okay, the doctors are here regardless, so I can still go out and have fun. She spent her 21st birthday with me in the hospital. And not only that, she could have went on to be a doctor, could have went on, could have been a very successful, rich, powerful woman. But if it wasn't for me and my brother who came along. So I just thought about my mother, her being a single mother, one who couldn't work because of all that, and her disabilities. But everything just, it hurt me, the fact that people talk about me and her, and so the anger, and then one day I started drinking, and then I got so mad. I'm like, why should I hurt my life? I said to myself, if you're gonna hurt others, you might end up killing somebody. So I thought, now why you try to kill myself? But yeah, but every time I would try, I would always take whatever pills that I had. I popped them either when I was alone or before I went to school. And every day at school, my eyes. If you see somebody that has been high on pills, you know the eyes, the pupils, they get like, it's only big or small. I forgot. I think it depends on what it is. The lines, if they have lines, they either go away or the eyes either get big. No, that's what it is. It's like when it's dark, you close your eyes and your pupils get really big. That was me. Constantly sweating, and with that, I didn't go to class because I knew I was high on pills. I knew I was basically doing drugs to cope. So, and I don't want to have people notice. So I would skip class until it went down. Because it wasn't just that day. It was like I would pop so many pills on like Sunday, and then I would still just now start sobering down on like a Wednesday or a Thursday. So it just so much that I couldn't do. I was so angry with myself. I started scratching myself, and eventually I started cutting myself. Eventually I started taking razors in the shower, shaving my face. And I always told my mom that no, I was trying to shave out hair. And that my mom didn't know. I'm glad I don't know if I should tell her the real reasons why I was shaving my face with just a razor and water and nothing else, because I don't want to. Because that's something. Because yes, it's a lot, but at the same time, that's my face. And I've always been told that I have a very beautiful skin complexion. But by lying, and what hurt me the most, and it still does, every time my mom or my grandma, because my grandma is a diabetic, she takes certain medicine. The fact that they always think that they lost medicine, they thought they lost it, they thought either they was out or they thought it was just a old bottle. And in fact, I would pretend to help to look for something that I knew that I took. Hurts me. And one day, my mom, I guess, when I say she caught me, but she saw me, she saw what some people didn't see, because there were some people that would see me, but I don't know if they told or what, I don't know if they told other people, but now I was living in fear that, they see me, but it's getting worse. I'm like, I don't care, if I do this, I might as well, if she kicks me out, I'm gonna go deaf, so there's nothing that I could do in my head. So I kept on. The one morning, my mom and my whole family, they were going to Virginia because of my uncle, my late uncle, who actually passed a couple months. We had just found out that he had cancer a couple months, so they were going to visit him in Virginia. And when I found that out, knowing that my uncle was somebody that's been more of a closer father figure, because our father's been out of our life since, I don't know when, since my mom and him broke up. My mom's always said that she has his number, and she does. I think this number, and every time, and it's the same number. She always said that I will not, and I will never, I don't care how old you get, I will not let you live without your father. It's your choice as you get older, whether you want to call him or not. But just because we went through our things doesn't mean I have to put in y'all, because y'all are innocent. If anything, we could have worked it out, but at the same time, regardless, y'all do need your father. So whether he called or whether you want to call, times we have called, he answered, talked for maybe 1 or 2 days, go about a month, about a week after that, months, years. And then one day there was my grandma, his mother, who moved here from I forgot where she was, surprised us when we was like about in middle school. Around that time, I was still it was just getting worse. But I was still happy because at least I could at least now my grandmother, my other grandmother, I can see her. So I know it's like okay, if something happened with me and my mom and my grandmother, at least I can call them. Went to her and she took us out, and then after that, never got a call since then. To this day, I was that I give up at the same time. It's like I can't force anything. I can't keep calling. Cause yes, I can call, but it's yours. But at the same time, you have a phone. You gave our mother, the mother of your children, your number to call us. So losing him, and losing my actual father, I mean not dying, just losing him because it's just that he was just not there. Was one thing about losing somebody the one that was my mom's brother, and two, he also did have my grandfather because my grandfather had my uncle when he was in high school. So it's like, and then there was a bunch of things, I guess, whatever going on back then, where people were saying because he was in high school, I guess it was a prom night. Look at you. So I guess the reason why I would say it's not my grandfather's fault, but you can't let other people say or put things in your head, and then especially if it's a child, okay, you can still take a DNA test of any of that, but just that was my second father. So knowing that he could still be like that, because he was coming around the family regardless, and my grandfather and him, they still had a relationship when he got older. So it's like if they can do that, I'm pretty sure either it's gonna be me who needs him or it's gonna be him that needs me. But at the same time, I was broken enough. Then I felt like I lost I think a father that's been there. And with that being said, because I know that was a lot, cause when we found out that, and then cause that happened within like a year or two of each other, because cause I just started middle school, and when that happened with my father and my grandmother in the summer of the school year, close to the summer, so that happened within a year, rather than after 8th grade, with me going to 9th grade. That happened. I literally, like a shot, really, my antidepressants and one of my morning medicines. I dozed off. I thought I was overdosing. I wrote a note, a suicide note. Then wake up until the middle of the night when I realized I was hallucinating. I was hungry, but I was trying to eat. But that's one thing with some drugs, cause it's like meth or anything. Like you do it for a long time, then when you get hooked on it, if you get hungry, like I said, you don't want to be hungry, or you just want to sleep, or what it is, like that medicine or the drug, I guess pushes away. So I'm hungry. I told my mom. I woke up sweating. I was just high as can be. I was probably the worst high. Cause there were times where my mom thought, okay, you're just sweating like me. And plus, my grandmother keeps the house hot as can be every time of the year. I don't know why, and it still is. I know for a fact I'm gonna be hot walking in with this shirt on. But if you think it is, it's true. Okay, it's true. Don't blame me. But my mom was asleep. It was like an hour before they even got up. I told her, like, I'm sweating. I feel like I'm hallucinating. My mom asked me, "Did you eat?" I'm like, "No, I didn't eat anything." Which I didn't eat anything for a while, because I would either pop pills or drink. When you have alcohol, it's like people say you can eat before you drink, which now I'm gonna see why. Because once you do that, you get immune to it. It's like you don't want nothing else but alcohol. So with that being said, it transpired to a whole other thing with my grandfather, because he had a lot of liquor in his under for some reason. I don't know why, but I know why he always goes there. You know, he just a fly man for him and all the uncles. If you know what I mean. If you come from a family that I come from, like a southern family, that is a homemade wine, white liquor, or just something. I think Hennessy or gin. It's always right, no matter what function it is, whether it's after a funeral. Literally, we didn't have time because we had to drive through. But if we were to go to somebody's house, we would have been drinking. Probably would have never made it back to the grave because they would have been drunk. So that's my fault. But yeah, but drinking that was missing. He didn't know him thinking that okay, I just maybe because he drunk flying and he forget a lot of stuff. He was an alcoholic, but when he get drunk, it's a whole other story. So, you know what that is.
So James, you said you're 16 now. You've been through a lot. You are almost deaf from some prescription medicines that were given to you when you were just a baby, to being bullied because of your inability to hear and pronounce words as other people pronounce them. From bullying to depression to alcohol to drugs. Why is it so important for you to share your story with others?
Because I think because where I live and where I come from, I see people, and I still see them to this day, that other people who have gone to school with them tell them that they could have been the first this, they were the greatest this. Went to our party, like, just they are the one. Went to our party, they had like one day and then they got hooked on it, or they would just continue, but I don't know the story, but all I know is it was just either something. And I see them and then I hear the story that I see this person today. I look at that, I'm like, I don't want to be that person. I want to be somebody that overcomes. That says, just like that says, because you don't have to be 16, 25, like I said. I know kids for a fact. I've seen somebody so depressed. I've seen somebody go to a funeral because their 11-year-old brother accidentally stuck a needle. If you know what, I forget the word, it's a big word, it's like a drug-infected something needle. But a drug-infected needle in the arm, because they see either their parents do it, or somebody they know, or they see them do it when they see somebody else crying, and then they do that, but so they do it because they're crying. I hear the story, and it's just like, I don't want to be the person, and I don't want my mom and dad to bury me like my grandpa buried my uncle, and I definitely do not want my brothers, my brother, the one by my mother, and my other brother, to see somebody like me give up because of something that a lot of people go through at school. Now, there's not many kids that I see or think that I know or think, but at the same time, the many that are there, I'm pretty sure they get bullied too. Whether it's the color, regardless of the color of who you are, who your parents are. I know kids that have the richest parents in the world. They do get bullied because their hearing is too cheap, or it's just so much to see somebody pick on somebody like that. And there's other people that know that you're hurting. People that knew that to tell I was hurting, they could tell they were hurting me and they knew. And to see my reaction, because I was little and I'm feeling kind of little. So this basically like a little door for a midget fight. And I say in a funny way, but at the same time, it's kind of what it was. But it's still like they saw somebody small, but their hearing aid was something that they're different. Like if he try to say something back, he can send it. He's not even old and he has a hearing aid. Which brings me back to this. You don't have to be old. You don't have to be 21 to be depressed, to get hooked on drugs. You do not have to be broke. You don't have to you don't have to be from a poor neighborhood or a drug infected neighborhood. You can You can be in the richest family with the biggest family company or business. Something can happen and you can fall right into that and end up worse than anybody else. So what I'm trying to say is care for others and to you, the people that look down, well, they look down on people who are either down or up because there are people that still look down on other people that have a lot more at the same time. Just because they have a lot doesn't mean that you need to pick on them. You can be that person. So bullying that, and like I said, I know this might sound like okay, you're just making excuses for the bully. It's not. If I was, I'm pretty sure I would be even worse. Because then they would still, because they would have got away with a lot. What I'm saying is, whether you're the victim, whether you're not, whether you see somebody, whether you know somebody, whether you hear something about it, or whether you just hear or see it happen, whether you know the person who is bullying or getting bullied, situation, or whether, and not even just bullying. If you know somebody is going through something, or if you see somebody hurting, or whatever the case may be, whether you like them or not, or whether they like you or not, I feel like if whoever you worship, believe in, you're not a child of that person. You don't believe in them. You're not a disciple, whatever is the person, unless you don't give love to people that other people say that don't deserve love. Because everybody deserves to be loved. Because if nobody, not nobody. Because if it was the other way around, and it was me bullying somebody else, coming from the family I have, not only the me is my mother, the whole family, because the town I'm from, they kind of know our family. So not only that, it's like it's a life. So it's kind of hard to explain, but at the same time, it's not about images, but at the same time, it's about you and whether it's heaven or reincarnation, whatever your religion is. If you want to get to that same place after life, don't speak it. Don't just talk. Don't speak it. Don't be like, okay, I'm gonna do it. Don't do it, but do it out of love. Do it without thinking. Just if you feel like somebody needs a hug, or if you feel like somebody needs to pray, if you feel like somebody needs to be talked to, if you feel like somebody needs to be heard from somebody else, don't think it, don't be like, and then later on something happens, I wish I could have something to do with it. Because if you don't, it's gonna hurt you, because there have been more people that have gone through worse things that I could have helped, that I now know. Regardless of me going through what I go through, there are people that go through a lot of worse. There are people that are, I don't know if I should say, because I don't know who's watching them, but there are kids that I know that were being sexually molested, raped by their own fathers, uncles, the kids that have, there's so many people that go through so many things. There are kids that have watched their parents either die, or that have watched their dad or their mom, or just they go through a lot more, like I said. Me and my mom argue. Like I said, we argue, but it's not like I'm saying, okay, we argue. It can still be a big deal, but at the same time, I'm lucky to have a mother. I'm lucky that God blessed me with a mother. The woman that she is, like, I view her as a mother, but like I said, I love her as a mother, but I respect her as a human being, as a strong woman. Like, if she wasn't my mother, I promise I would cry for her. I was something that I had, because it's like, she could put up with me. No, my father used to sell drugs, so it's like, okay, my son do drugs. What if he ends up selling drugs? And then it turns to a whole other thing, so it's like, the thing that my mother did, she did so much, I can't do this, but just because she didn't try doesn't mean that she doesn't want us to try. But I want to be here. I would not be here, and to be honest, I don't think I don't think I would be able to even tell the story. I don't think I would even be sober right now if wasn't for the love, for the love, for that she's thanking you just for wanting for the praying. Like at a young age, it's like okay, you got like me being me and the family that I have. You're mostly my grandma, but they will get up on us like you're going to church whether if I'm not going because I'm like I said just because I'm sick doesn't mean you couldn't go because I ain't got a car right now or I ain't got gas so we come out with your grandma and I heard like I said so going to church was like oh my god every Sunday we gotta go to church and then gotta go to Auntie Pearl's house and do it's up to Sunday dinner y'all know how it is I don't have to explain it some of y'all know it's just from the south y'all know what I mean. Sunday is either the first or the first or fourth after church. Go and either she makes a famous lemonade. It's the usual every Sunday. You know how it is. So, but like I was used to that. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna church. Let me really join the choir. Did something, but it like I said, it doesn't affect. Like I said, you don't think like okay, one day I'm gonna need. Not only one day. God is gonna be the only person, literally. Because whether your mother or whether if she leaves or whether you don't want to go to her, he's gonna be the only person that you have left, and he's gonna be the only person if you're a question that you're going to answer to. So you might as well do it either way. So if you want to go to heaven, like me, talk to God. But like at the same time, love others. Like I said, this was yesterday, but I cried because I felt like I could have been a little bit heartless instead of trying to see the good in us. Like, for me to say that I try to see the good in all of my bullies, it's like, okay, like, there's something wrong with you. Either they was in your brain, which they were, I'm not gonna lie, because they were the stop that, be nice, and then drama, and then they would do all this to get the reaction out of me. So, what I'm trying to say is, regardless if it's you, them, somebody you don't know, whatever it is, love them, love yourself, believe in yourself, do not give up, and most of all, talk to God or whoever you worship, like whoever you praise, worship, whoever you believe in, like worship, talk to them, praise to them, like summon to them, like sing to them, whatever you do it. Because I'm telling you, if it wasn't from that, I'm 16, I'm telling you right now. You don't have to be 25 saying that this happened at 16. You can do it, and I promise you this. I don't care what you say. If I didn't believe that, I would not have done a lot of things like got on that bike, try to sing, acting, trying to do a little acting, doing plays. I wouldn't have done none of those things if I went out to doctors and people keep saying that, keep putting that in my head.
Well, thank you so much, James. This has been such an incredible, you're so wise. You're wise beyond your years, and I still say that. So everybody that's watching this, James is in the process of writing a book about his journey through bullying and depression. He's 16 and he has such an incredible story. So James, thank you once again for sharing with the world who you are, and we love you and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
Life, love, and wellness.
Indeed, I am Queen Neat Hatshepsut Mayat, and I am the founder of Medicine Woman University. The mission that I have been graced with is teaching indigenous melanated women how to fall in love with themselves. When a woman falls in love with herself, she becomes a better woman. A wise woman builds her house, and it's the foolish that tear it down with her own hands. So if she is blessed to be a mother, if she is blessed to be in a loving, committed relationship, then that relationship is enhanced because she learns to love herself first. And then she teaches her mate how to love her by the way she takes care of herself. The same thing with her children. Our children are a divine reflection of us at our greatest and at our worst. And we teach our children how to love and respect us by the way they see us being loved and respected by our spouses, by our mates, by their fathers, as well as the way they see us take care of ourselves. So my mission is to reach out to my sisters. We understand that it takes 16 positives to pull up every negative that has ever entered our eyes, our ears, our emotions. And so that's what I've dedicated my life to doing, is first working on me, because I teach self first but not self only. And so I've learned how to fall in love with me, and then I teach women how to do so. And so women just visit my website from all over the world, and they realize, wow, I went to college, I got degrees in everything, but I didn't learn how to master myself.
That's incredible.
Give thanks.
Yes, yes. And women, we're the caregivers of life
Yes, we are.
on this planet Earth, Mother Earth.
The mothers of civilization.
Yes.
And if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. And that's where we leave ourselves open. See, a lot of times the universe and our elements respond to us. So when you keep seeing back-to-back hurricanes, when you keep seeing all types of catastrophic events, we have to look at the women. We have to look at how much pain the women are in. So if we can help the women to heal, then the earth will heal, because we are the mothers of civilization.
How long have you been doing this work, Queen?
I started this work about 25 years ago, surprisingly. Most people aren't aware of that. At the age of 23, I actually opened my first day spa. And at that point, I realized, yeah, you went to college, you got all these amazing degrees, but helping women to look at themselves and to improve their own esteem, that's what you're called to. And so I had 12 young ladies that worked with and for me. They did hair, they did tanning, I did nails. And so I had many women that came in that were missing fingers. I worked in Greensboro, North Carolina, and we had a lot of factories there. So there were a lot of women that were missing fingers. I had women who came in who had diseases and disorders that made their nails come off of their toes. And I'll never forget that, see, we take for granted wearing sandals. And I had a young lady come in, she was 50, and she said, I want to get a pedicure, but nobody ever sees my feet but my husband, and I always wear socks around him. And I said, well, why? And she started crying. I said, talk to me, tell me what's going on. She took off, she had on her shoes, it was the summertime, and she had on socks and shoes. And she said, can I show you and you not laugh at me? I said, I promise I won't. She took off her shoes and her socks, and it was nothing but skin at the end of each of her toes. I'd never seen that. And I've been burned, I've volunteered in burn units. I'd never seen that. It was nothing but skin at the end of her toes, so all of her toenails had fallen off, and it was just smooth skin. I said, you know what, I can help you if you'll let me. And she called her husband because he was going to pick her up, and she said, this lady said she can help me. She said she can build me some toenails. Will you give me another hour? He said, baby, I'll do whatever you want. And she had him on speaker. And so I taught at Dudley Cosmetology University, And so one of the things that I specialized in was sculpting nails. And so I sculpted her 10 toenails. And they were beautiful. And she just stared the whole time I was doing it. And that woman cried and cried and cried. And her husband came in and he slipped $100 in my hand. He said, "This is just because you helped to heal the woman that I love in a way that I couldn't touch her. She would never let me, we've been married almost 30 years, she's never let me touch her feet." And so she became a client until I left Greensboro almost 5 years later, and she cried when I left. And it was at that point I realized, wow, this thing is for real. The way I got into doing nails, I used to hide and cover my burn scars on my hands. And I went to a lady, and I was 20, so this was back in 1980 something. And she did me my first set of nails. And I was so proud. I found myself using my hands and talking with my hands. And I said, you know what? If this made me feel this good, I gotta share this with other women. And that's what started this part of my journey. In 2010, I started working on, I had fibroid tumors. And they had me on double doses of steroids every month. That blew me up to 300 pounds. And it didn't stop the bleeding. All of the fibroids that were in my womb had fused together. And they became one big mass that weighed 40 pounds. I had 7 different gynecologists that said, you just need to have a hysterectomy. We're not going to go in and cut all it. Listen, you ain't having no babies. Go ahead and have a hysterectomy or just get pregnant. Just get pregnant. And I'm looking at both of those options. I knew that I wanted to have children, still do some days. And so I said, well, now I understand and believe in creative miracles, but now if you take my womb, where's the baby going to grow? That was the first thing. Second thing, just go have a baby. Just go have a random baby. Just, hey, come here. I need to have a baby. No. Neither of those were options. So I started working with a wonderful lady named Aisha. And she's here in Atlanta. And she does womb work. I started learning about natural herbs from her. And then I learned about raw foods and started going to raw food seminars. I had my first weekend experience of doing raw food and lost 4 pounds. I said, this ain't natural. Something wrong with this here. No, this can't be God. And so it scared me, but it made me realize I wasn't hungry that whole weekend. I could eat as much as I wanted to. And so then I ran into Kaya and Baratunde, and they own the Forgotten Foods, and they are my spiritual grandparents or godparents. And they started teaching me about herbs. I went and my fibroids had gotten so bad that I could barely drive because I was losing so much blood. It was a Saturday. And I called Kaya. I said, I need your products. She said, well, I can mail them out. I said, you don't understand. I'm too lightheaded to walk up my steps. I had a townhouse. I can't get upstairs to where my bed is. She said, well, if you can just get here, we've got the herbs. There are 20 steps to get up to her house. I'm 300 pounds, and I'm just crying. And I climbed those steps. And I got there, and for an hour and a half, she and her husband gave me herbs. Just so that, now I'm not what you would call a light-skinned woman, but I was pale. And they said, we couldn't let you leave because there was very little blood left in your face. And for an hour and a half, I took those herbs. it shifted my life. I said, you know what? This is what I need to do. And so that was 8 years ago, and I began sitting at their feet and I began learning herbs from them. And then about a year later, Spirit spoke to me. They said, okay, you've learned the herbs, you've learned the food, but there's a debt you owe. I said, oh. And so I'm looking at my little credit report. I'm like, well, my little credit look good. Who I owe? And they said, there's a 900-pound elephant that you've left sitting in your spirit life for about 20 years now. We need you to reconcile that. And that was the baby girl that I had aborted 20 years ago. That was my secret. I never talked to anybody about it. And they walked me through how to do a post-abortion healing clinic for myself. 20 years later, I didn't know that was a debt I owed. I didn't realize I attracted those fibroid tumors to my womb because my womb and my breast were supposed to nurture that baby girl. And because of the decision that I made to rid myself of that responsibility, then those parts of my body decided, we're going to turn on you. You turned on us. I said, wow. I did that procedure. I walked through that by myself. And from the herbs, from making that acknowledgement, and from the raw foods, that fibroid tumor became like jelly. It was a hard mass. It softened, it broke up inside of me, and began to pass through me. And it took 5 months to do so. And as a result, never again have I had any challenges with fibroids, and this has been almost 7 years. And so in my healing work, that's what I do. I do post-abortion healing clinics for women. One of my oldest students was 73 years old. And I have women older than that reach out to me and they say, hey, I had an abortion with a clothes hanger when I was 13, 14 years old. Can you help me? I had a hysterectomy when I was 20 because I'd had 4 or 5 abortions when I was a teenager. And back in the day, they used clothes hangers. Can you help me? And so that's exactly what we do. I go all throughout the country. I'm getting ready to go to the UK in May. And I help women to reconcile that energy and to release that baby's spirit back into the hands of the ancestors. So in my Sacred Medicine Woman course, I teach women how to fall in love with themselves, and part of falling in love with yourself is being authentic. And so in being authentic, you deal with the demons that you've hidden in your closet. And I learned how to teach women to do that by dealing with my own.
Your story is just so incredibly fascinating. There's documentation that say within the African American community that abortions kill more life than combination of the homicides and the drug overdoses and all of that. So by you teaching that principle of reconciling that energy with the ancestors, that's so important to strengthen us whole, to be whole again, to return to that place.
And you are absolutely correct. Since 2009, as they do the statistical data, 500,000 African American babies a year are aborted. Many sisters have started to use this as a form of birth control. And that comes from self-hate. That comes from the stereotype that this little boy that's in my stomach is probably going to get killed anyway. So I'm going to avoid that. I don't want to be a statistic. What will the church people say? And so we make decisions. See, some things we don't get a do-over with. We don't get a do-over. No one could have told me at the age of 19 that at 48 I'd have no children. If I'd have known that, that little girl would have made it. And so I'm so grateful to be able to do this work. And we don't do it from a place of judgment. We do it from a place of healing. And a lot of times, unless you actually experienced what people have experienced, they can't hear you when it comes to healing. And it's not just women that I do these for. I do this for men. A lot of brothers suffer from prostate cancer, from erectile dysfunction, because they have funded abortions. You ever met really, really good brothers who can't never seem to get their thing together financially? They done went to college. Hard-working brothers always losing jobs. When you put your money toward an abortion as a man, then you have now brought a curse upon your finances. Your money becomes blood money, just like if you put a hit on somebody. So until brothers actually reconcile that energy, then they end up continually having physical energy issues and financial issues. And so the women cry, but oh my goodness, the men. And you talk about men weeping because they get a chance to name their children, to find out the sex of their children, to give an explanation as to why they allowed this to be. And then they release the spirit of the baby into the hands of the ancestors. When a man releases on that level, he is taking back his authority as a provider, a protector, and the priest that he lost when he agreed with that experience. A lot of men find out afterwards, but see, that's still your responsibility because that was your seed. You put your seed out there and you left it unprotected. So I'm so graced to be able to do this. And this is what I've committed my life to, is this healing work. So that, see, I didn't have a Queen Neat growing up. I didn't have anybody to have this discussion with me, to hold me accountable, to say, there is an alternative. And so I'm grateful to be able to be a Queen Neat in the lives of people that will receive me. I'm grateful.
Do you also include perhaps the parents, mother and father, or mother
All day
or
long.
father, that would have told their teenage daughter,
Yes.
get rid of that?
Absolutely, because they have blood on their hands. There's no way that you don't. And it's really, really deep because when we make these types of decisions for our children, and I have counseled so many women whose mothers and fathers took them to the abortion, you're going to do this. So they had no option, they had no choice, and the girls wanted to keep the baby. So when your parents take that option from you, then they have blood on their hands. And so I do family counseling because that rift is always between you and your parents. That's a death. So we make a lot of things family secrets, but that ain't no secret. That's a death. And so it's harder when the parents have transitioned. And so we do a lot of embryonic channeling so that you can release your parents. Your parents got karma that they have to live out because they made that decision for you. But if you don't release them, you hold that resentment and that anger inside of you, and that becomes disease and disorder. We can't allow that to happen to us on top of being forced to have an abortion. So yes, I fully hold them accountable.
Queen Neat, your work is vital to our survival. To be able to make a positive contribution to those energies. I call them unnamed, and There's so many of them. I think you said your number was 500,000
per year.
Yeah,
Per year.
that's amazing.
Yes.
Simply amazing.
Yes.
And for you to do the work is truly commendable.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. It's you've touched me in such a soft spot.
Mm.
And we've had conversations about a number of issues and activities within our communities.
Indeed.
This here is something that touches everybody.
It does. And I'm blessed because part of the anointing on my life and part of the anointing of my personality is that I get to deal with the things that other people want to sweep under the rug, the things that aren't our niceties. And I used to so try to convert my personality so I could be like other people, but that's not what I'm anointed to be. I'm anointed to deal with our ugliness, to deal with our pain, and not just, oh, well, let's just give it over to a deity. Let's just not think about it. Let's not talk about it. Let's talk about unicorns and rainbows. But life is not unicorns and rainbows. It's just not. And so I'm grateful for everything that I had to experience to get to where I am now. I stand in constant gratitude.
And I'm appreciative that you are taking ownership of who you are and you show up in your authentic self. It is so much needed. And those subjects which we seem to think that we push up under the carpet, and as long as we don't talk about it, it doesn't affect us, but it does. It affects us even more.
Yes.
So to be able to get to the root of that is really extremely important. So thank you for the work that you do. Yeah. Thank you for being with us today. And we know that you enjoyed our awesome, incredible speakers. And we certainly appreciate you as being a part of this groundbreaking historic event. And so we invite you to tomorrow perhaps invite a couple of more of your friends over, or how about at your church or your synagogue or your mosque, invite people and have a viewing party so that you can have a discussion afterwards. And so we look forward to being with you tomorrow with another group, anywhere from 5 to 7 incredible individuals that's going to share of their expertise, their love, their passion, because you know our speakers cover a wide variety of subjects, and it's things that you can immediately put into effect in your life. So thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Love and wellness. Life, love and wellness. Life, love and wellness.
And that's what I want, more just what I need.